I don't consider myself solely a luxury realtor, although, again, that's what I would love to be selling full time.
Right.
I also love being an all-encompassing agent so that no matter what you're looking for, I can help you and I can be that resource.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey, and today we have Hannah Allen from the Austin market. How are you, Hannah?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Hannah is in Austin, Texas, born and raised in Texas. And Austin's a great market. It's I remember going down there for a convention and just thinking about like the vibes, the energy of the city is great. Obviously the weather helps with that, but you guys have a killer food scene. The downtown area is awesome. What do you love about selling real estate in Austin?
Just that, right? I love selling the city that I myself fell in love with. I was born and raised in Waco, which is about an hour and a half north of Austin, but moved here right after college and knew that this was the city for me. It is, the South in general, right, is known for being very welcoming and hospitable, but Austin in particular has such a different energy, such a different personality than any other big city in Texas. And that's one of the things that Austin is absolutely known for is being welcoming, being warm.
Well, we're going to talk about two things specifically today: luxury real estate and social media, two things that you're heavily involved in. I wonder if Chip and Joanna Gaines, some of the production down in Texas makes the quality of your posting has to be a little bit more high quality than other places in the country, right? If you have shows that are nationally well known, does it mean that your content has to be higher standard? I don't know.
I couldn't answer that, but just funny you mentioned Chip and Joanna Gaines because obviously being from Waco, they have put that city on the map.
Right.
I grew up in a family that was very heavily involved with hospitality and tourism in Waco. My dad served on the city council for several terms. And when he was on the city council, that's when Chip and Joanna Gaines were just getting going. I remember seeing their signs just kind of sprinkled around Waco. They were flipping one or two homes at a time. So now to see them have this enormous empire that's known worldwide, it's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that's a good segue because I saw a post that you had one time talking about how when you were a kid, your parents turned part of your actual home into a bed and breakfast. So tell us what that experience was like getting into hospitality at such a young age.
Yeah, sure. So from the around 7 or 8 years old, that's when they started the bed and breakfast. If we're being quite candid, I was born and raised in an enormous, almost 6,000 square foot, not historical, but very old Georgian style brick home in Waco. And turning it into a bed and breakfast, turning it into a business was a way for my parents to afford the house.
Yeah. Sure.
But it was large enough to where we could have our part of the home in the back of the house. And then the whole front of the house was the business. And so, from the age of 7, 8 years old, I grew up eating breakfast with total strangers and cleaning bathrooms and making beds and dusting and vacuuming. And that was normal to me. That was all I knew. So,
it was a different time. Do you feel like people could do that today? I just feel like the amount of crazies has grown.
Obviously, so back when I was that young, Airbnb, VRBO, all of these short-term rental sites, that didn't exist. That wasn't even a thing. So if you weren't staying in a hotel, you were staying in a bed and breakfast when you traveled. Yeah. And there was definitely, it's definitely like a lost art a little bit because there's a different relationship that you have with a B&B owner versus a short-term rental owner that's not present.
Sure.
it's a completely different experience. And it's for some people and it's not for some people. I mean, it just
Well,
depends.
I remember staying at one in Louisville, which was like 4 stories, just massive, like almost mansion, and they had their living quarters, I think, in the basement or something like you couldn't get to it because of locked doors and stuff like that. So I hope people, and I'm guessing your parents had the same thing. Like I hope people aren't thinking, oh man, that'd be a great way to make some money, and they're just gonna like rent out a room in their house. I mean, so that is a version of what people do on Airbnb. But did you have like a shut off, like they could not get to you guys, or was it just open?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a completely separate part of the house.
Right.
I mean, other than just doors, no, we didn't have any other kind of privacy or, safety
So you'd
setting.
wake up and have breakfast with a new person every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think my parents were very, it's not like we had walk-ins, from off the street. People that stay in bed and breakfast are very intentional about staying at bed and breakfast. And it's kind of like a little clique, a little club. And, for my experience, like I didn't stay at like a real hotel until I was in college, because when I traveled with my family as a child, all we stayed at was bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
I think there are ways to sift through guests so that it's safe and, what you're getting into.
Yeah. Well, that was foundational, I'm assuming, for what you were about to get into, which is real estate, luxury real estate, and investing in real estate. One thing that I've been talking about on the show a lot lately is that realtors have this vast knowledge of the market, of real estate, of even investing, but yet so few of them actually break into investing with their own dollars into real estate. And it seems like early on within your real estate, you were already thinking about that. You have your own rentals. And if you look on Instagram, it says that you actually manage luxury short-term rentals. So how'd you break into that space?
Yeah. So obviously, because of growing up in a bed and breakfast, there's a very natural sense of, being hospitable, being welcoming. And so managing short-term rentals specifically, again, just comes very naturally to me. I enjoy that. And I enjoy doing that for my clients. So part of my business strategy is finding clients that want to invest, whether it be in a long-term investment or something to short-term rent. Either way, I have experience in both. But if we're talking specifically about short-term rentals, walking them through that process, what is this really going to look like for you? What kind of property are you looking to own? What kind of guest is going to be staying in that property? And then what's going to get that property to a point where it's going to generate the most income, the most profit for you. And that makes sense, within your business strategy or within your investment strategy. And so I love being from the beginning to the end of that. And then if they need a manager on the back end, once the house is sold, then wonderful. I'm happy to help you with that too. Or if you just need, some guidance on how to set all of that up, I'm happy to help. So kind of a one-stop shop for investment.
Yeah. Well, we had Michael Mayer on the show who talked about the quote unquote, what's next. And a lot of realtors struggle with in their database, letting whoever they're talking to know the next time they're going to see them or the next time that they want to be in front of them. And I imagine offering that service where you're actually managing puts you in front of your database, a lot of them on a more frequent basis to where, when they're ready to buy, sell, or refer, you've been in front of them along the whole way. So like you're just becoming a full service a person at that point. I really love that. So then how did you break into luxury? Because luxury, we talked in the pre-show, in Austin, all across the country, it's got to be a market where the average age is probably in their 40s, maybe even 50s at times. You're a little bit younger, so typically mirroring your database is what we see, right? Like if you're in your 30s, you sell to people in your 30s, people with young families or something like that. But you found a way to break into the luxury market. How did you do that?
Yeah. So, I think historically, most of the people that are buying $1 million+ properties, I think in general are of an older age. However, because Austin is such a tech heavy city, there is a lot of new money coming here. every single day. And that can be people in their early 20s. It can be people in their late 20s, their early 30s, at all different levels of, where they are in their wealth or investment journey. I have been very fortunate to just have an incredible network here. I worked in the bar industry before I was in real estate. So that allowed me a fantastic foundation for people in Austin that, had money already. But in addition to that, I'm at an age, I'm almost 35, where I can kind of go both ways. If you're in your 20s, I have things I can relate to you on. And then if you're in your 40s or 50s, I also have things that I like to do that they might like to do, or, hobbies, interests, whatever. So I feel very blessed in that I can kind of, network and maneuver any age group at this point.
Sure. Well, you've had quite the run in real estate, and I'm curious as to what's next for you as you are looking to build. A hot item, or buzzwords in the industry right now include interest rates, low market. Even this lawsuit with NAR is affecting, kind of impacting the industry. You mentioned Austin being a hub for tech. What I've heard is, is obviously you have the school there, and typically when people graduate and they start businesses, they go back home to start their business, or they pick somewhere else. But in Austin, it's pretty unique because people start their businesses and then they stay. So the city is growing pretty consistently, and it's growing around these small businesses that become big businesses. For you, as you're navigating this market and you're navigating, like what I said, all those buzzwords, what's next for you in the next 6 to 12 months in terms of your focuses for building your business?
From my business, as far as what I will be investing in, or as far as how to generate more business?
Yeah, I mean, so representing the buyers, but then also yourself. I mean, we've established that you have pretty much any avenue that you can take. You can represent a buyer or seller. You can sell their homes. That you can, if they're investing, you can manage their homes. Or if you're finding these homes that you want to invest in yourself, you've got all these different avenues. When you have that many different things going on, where do you put your focuses? How do you not like chase too many rabbits and catch none of them?
Sure. So a lot of how I figure this out is, again, investing myself. I own multiple single family homes here in Austin, and going through that process allows me to then be way more relatable when speaking to buyers, because I've been there. I know the process. I've experienced it for myself. If we're touching on what is next for me personally from an investment standpoint, I'm done with single family. I'm moving into multifamily, either duplexes, quadplexes, maybe even outside of Austin. So bigger investments that could potentially generate more cash flow, more tenants, anything along kind of that vein is where I'm at personally. And I think that will help me with my investors as well, because I haven't yet touched multifamily, and a lot of my investors want that. So I'll be able to speak to them on that note. And then as far as business goes, my goal is to always generate more luxury, right? The higher the price point, the better. So even in a normalized market or a down market, which is what we're seeing here in Austin. We were so crazy for so long, and it was so chaotic. Now we're kind of, we're getting back to normal, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic pricing. And as far as like how long things are sitting on the market, it's back to where it was around 2019. Yeah. And so it's just a lot of getting back to the basics. You have to follow up with people. You have to stay in front of people. You have to go out and network. You have to show your face, and be consistent. Obviously, social media is a big part of staying relevant for my business, and for a lot of people's businesses. So it's just doing what you already know how to do. We're not in the time that you can just throw a stick and sell a home.
Right.
So again,
well, let me ask you this thing about the luxury side of it, because you do a lot of marketing specifically around luxury. I've been in real estate circles and events where like the horror story of your neighbor or close friend going with a different realtor and you finding out and you say, why didn't you call me? And they said, whoa, you look so busy. I thought you're so busy you couldn't handle our listing. Right. And so like that's like the most common horror story within real estate. Well, I wonder if we applied that to luxury and kind of if you're positioning yourself as like the luxury realtor, if I have a home that I wouldn't even consider luxury, maybe it even is, or if I have a home that's, you know, 200,000-300,000 or half the price point that you're usually doing, are you obviously, I would think the answer to this is yes, you want to represent that seller. Have you run into finding out that people just think that you're not gonna service them because you're the luxury agent?
Sure. And it's a balance, right? You don't
how do
want
you fight that?
to post multi-million-dollar properties and then find out that one of your best friends who can only afford a $300,000 home or a $400,000 home isn't using you because they think you're only a luxury realtor now, right? So I try and post everything. I don't care if it's a lease. I don't care if it's an investment property. I don't care if it's ugly. I don't care. I post.
So that's how you fight it, is you let them know, hey, I'm representing this and I'm representing that.
Yeah, I don't consider myself solely a luxury realtor, although again, that's what I would love to be selling full time.
Right.
I also love being an all-encompassing agent so that no matter what you're looking for, I can help you and I can be that resource.
Sure.
You know, I'll sell land, I'll sell investment properties, I'll sell tear down,
yeah.
I'll sell your multi-million-dollar property. And I want to be that person.
Well, one perspective of that is that even if someone is ready to buy luxury real estate right now, they most likely didn't start there. Most people start with a starter home or slightly above that, even if they're well off. They don't go for luxury right off the bat. And so a lot of the clients that I'm assuming you serviced 8 years ago are now becoming that luxury line. And then referring other friends who are also in that. So to turn away or to not market to people who are, you know, just getting started, I feel like is a miss. So it sounds like that's what you do. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. And even if you are buying a multi-million-dollar property, you're still probably finding interest in other types of investments to create, you know, a very dynamic, you know, wealth strategy. So even if you're buying a $2 million house, you might want a duplex or you might want some other kind of, you know, long-term hold. And so again, I can be that one-stop shop for everything.
Let's talk a little bit about your social media strategy. We've talked mostly about how you will navigate and create the persona that you want around luxury. But in terms of just drumming up business, period, on social media, what are the platforms you found to be most successful and how do you attack your game plan there?
Yes. So I spend the majority of my time on Instagram. In addition to Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm dipping my toe into YouTube, but I'm not a Snapchat person. I'm not a TikToker. I think once you get into spreading yourself across too many platforms, it becomes overwhelming, or at least that's the case for me. So I like honing in on just one or two and really massaging those versus trying to touch everything all at once and be everywhere all at once. I'm not a tech savvy person. I might as well be an 80-year-old woman trapped in a 35-year-old body when it comes to anything tech related. So I like to keep things simple. I'm also a very visual person, so Instagram speaks to me. And I feel like I can be more creative on that platform versus anything else.
What do you use LinkedIn for?
Just networking, reaching out to people, touching people, posting articles, things on a more citywide level that I find interesting versus like design or, you know.
Do you find that that's where you find more investors or buyers or sellers, or is it really just to be networking with business owners?
A little of both. But I use it mainly for B2B networking. You know, how can I meet someone on LinkedIn that will then become a resource for one of my clients or a referral for, potential clients.
Yeah, that's super smart because
not necessarily like direct, like, could you be a client of mine, but could you be someone that could then introduce me to someone that could be a client?
that's really smart too, though, having those all those resources at your disposal when you're trying to service your client. Because I think about what we preach here at RP is that if we have a realtor come to us, we want to be the one-stop shop. We want to have someone who can cater to them in every single category, whether that's plumbing and roofing or, the more what we call the core four industries for us, which would be mortgage, title, builders, and home inspectors. And so as a realtor, you want to be that resource so that not necessarily does every single conversation end with a referral or a sale, but it ends with a better service to that client because you've been doing behind the scenes all that networking on LinkedIn. That's fascinating.
I don't want to just have a lender or a title person or an inspector. If you need a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer or anything, like literally anything, I want to have that person for you. And I want to be that resource for my clients.
Yep. I feel the same. That's great. So we talked in the pre-show a little bit about your passions around military related mental health. When you find yourself working in the nonprofit or charity space, that's what you focus your time on. What made you passionate about those two things?
Yeah. So at the brokerage that I work at, it's very important for everyone, but especially the top producers, to be involved in the community, at some level. Find something that you're passionate about, whether it's homeless people or children or animals. Find something that you're passionate about and really go and serve your community in that space. And so for me, when I was 22, I lost someone very close to me that had served 2 tours in Afghanistan, came back, committed suicide, and it really rocked my family. So from that point on, myself, as well as my father, my brother, really committed a lot of time and energy in our lives to making sure that other families never had to go through that. And so for me, my passion and what's close to my heart is being involved with military nonprofits.
So I'm sure a lot of people share that with you, and I'm sorry that you went through that. When you find yourself giving of your time and money, what does that look like, and how does that play into your real estate day to day?
Yeah, so it mainly just means partnering on different events, getting the word out there about these different nonprofits, and making sure that people who are either currently in the military or past military know that they have resources and places for support. That's my main goal, is just getting the word out about these different nonprofits so that people in the military know that they have a place to go in case they need anything, no matter what that looks like, whether it's financial support, mental, emotional support, just support in the community when they're coming back from overseas. I truly think our government misses the mark when it comes to that. And these men and women really need an outlet for that support. And it's a big missing link in our government. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Sure.
But how it affects my business is I love working with vets. I love working with anyone that's been in the military. And so partnering with these nonprofits and doing these sponsored events, it certainly has generated business. That's not the main goal. The main goal is to, help. But if business can come from that, then great.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, obviously we can't get into the specifics of how the government could fix this program, but like if I'm a realtor in my local market, because this again is a national show, if I'm passionate about what you're talking about, what's something that I can do? How can I get involved? Where would I start to help fill the void that, is missing from when someone comes back from a tour and is trying to get plugged back into the community?
Well, sure. So, on a national level, I can't answer that because I don't know what's available on a national level. But in Austin specifically, I mean, my first and most obvious answer would be to reach out to me, and I can plug you into all different nonprofits or all different resources, all different people that can guide you in the right direction. It just depends on what your need is. If you're needing support emotionally and needing, community, that's different than needing resources financially. But there's different nonprofits and there's different groups for everything. So I would love to be that plug for people.
Yeah.
Here in Austin, at least here or Texas, Central Texas.
Hannah, you're super active in the Austin market. I appreciate everything that you talked about today. If you already mentioned it, how to reach out to you. So if someone wanted to get more involved in all the things that you were mentioning today, what's the best way to find you?
Definitely shoot me an email. Find me on Instagram. My name is Hannah 12 Rivers. The only Hannah 12 Rivers out there. You can also find me through that hashtag. Send me a direct message. Email me, text me. I'm a millennial, so I definitely respond best to all of those.
Don't call. Do not call me. That's great. Well, Hannah, I really appreciate you leading by example and all the things after a sale of real estate, which is getting plugged in, investing your own money and time and dollars, and then also full service to your clients outside of just the sale of their home. That's what we've been preaching for years here. So you're embodying that and you are finding success in all different areas of your business for that. So thanks for speaking to that.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. This has been fun.
This has been the Real Producers Podcast. If we are not in your market, you or someone you know could bring us to your market with the Real Producers franchise. Look us up on realproducersmag.com. We'll see you next time.